And here with us now is former Pennsylvania Congressman Charlie Dent. So, what would you advise them about this televised speakership debate?
I think this is a horrible mistake. It sets a terrible precedent. These are family discussions, and you just don't want to air this in public. So I think this is just, I'm sure there are many House Republican members right now who are simply livid over this decision. There's no good that will come of it. If I were to ask them a question publicly, I say, okay, what deals are you going to cut on Ukraine in order to become the speaker? Can you imagine the types of questions that can be asked to these guys publicly? And they're going to have to try to answer them. It's a terrible. I can't express my outrage of this decision. It's so bad.
But you are presuming that they haven't preset questions. We don't know the terms of this debate. It is, kind of home TV on Fox.
Yeah. What kind of deals, though? I mean, that's one thing that always bothered me about these speaker elections. When McCarthy was elected, he made deals with his detractors on the motion to vacate, on putting people on the Rules Committee, appropriations, a lot of side deals, nothing in writing. But these guys, which were bad, but I'm afraid that these guys are going to have to make these side deals. Are they going to want to announce them publicly? They're going to be in they're going to be in really awkward positions, I think, answering some of these questions.
Yeah, what are they going to do about the one Congress member can start a motion to vacate? Where do they stand on that? Yeah. And what about the role of Donald Trump behind Jim Jordan? Well, is he the kingmaker now?
Well, if Jordan wins, then, yeah, I guess he would be the kingmaker. But don't underestimate Steve Scalise's popularity within the conference. And he is from Louisiana. There are a lot of members from the Deep South who probably wouldn't mind having a member from the Deep South becoming speaker. So geographic politics could play a role here. Steve has been a pretty effective fundraiser. And I think that he might actually have a lot more friends than the former president realizes within the House conference. But I think Scalise is going to be probably tormented by some of the same folks who tormented McCarthy at the end of the day. Jordan shouldn't have as much of a problem there.
And Steve Scalise, as you know, is deeply conservative in his views ideologically, but he gets along with people. There's a lot of sympathy for him. He survived that baseball field, the softball field attack, as well as now undergoing treatment for multiple myeloma.
Right. Yeah. He has a very compelling personal story. He is well regarded, especially since the shooting at the baseball practice. And of course he is dealing with cancer. But Steve, I found him to be very gregarious, very friendly. He's not very different than Jim Jordan, who is much more of a very, very aggressive, hard charging, in your face, and very inflexible. Steve, I think, has the capacity to be very pragmatic. I've seen that in him, worked with him. He was always very able, even though he's very conservative, he was able to reach agreements, which for some of the members of that House Republican Congress is kiss of death. And they think that's capitulation and surrender. But Steve does have a sense of governance. And like I said, he's pretty popular and a likable guy.